I got 5 reasons to be optimistic about Bulldog football entering the spring. 5 reasons that for 2026, just early off season, we haven't seen this team really on the field outside of a couple clips from practices a few days ago. We still don't fully know how this is coming together. What we know, or what we think we know, here are the reasons to be optimistic in Mississippi State football. And look, right off the bat, number one, the most obvious by far, Kamario Taylor. Mississippi State has a potentially generational talent at quarterback. Kamario Taylor, obviously, we and everybody have talked about him ad nauseum and the potential that you're talking about the highest rated quarterback signing in program history, a Bulldog legacy who grew up right down the road, grew up wanting to play for this program, who was an outstanding player at the high school level, high 4-star, could have been a 5-star, Elite 11 finalist, turned down bigger programs to come play for Mississippi State that physically is unlike any quarterback State has had to this point, and comes in with a ceiling because of where his athletic floor already sits, a ceiling higher than any quarterback State's ever had in terms of overall ceiling. That doesn't mean he's going to hit the heights of a Dak Prescott. Doesn't mean he'll even hit the heights of, a Tyler Russell or Nick Fitzgerald for that matter. But he has the ability to surpass all of those guys, at least as a college player, because of the physical tools that he has with his size, his frame, his arm talent, his athleticism. He is a special, special, special player. And when you have a guy like that on the field, at the most important position on the field, that every single time he touches the ball has a chance to do something special and can make plays for you that you otherwise wouldn't be able to make, that's obviously massive. And while it doesn't guarantee success, you can have crazy talented quarterback and still not get it done on the field because of all the other limitations elsewhere. Having that guy does give you a chance that even with everything else is not right, even when you're facing a team and an opponent where you are outmatched, he can level the playing field. And I'm not meaning to put a ton of expectations on him right away. I guess I kind of am, but not to sit here and say he's got to come out and be that guy this year. But the ceiling is there for him to be that guy. And if that's the type of player that he ultimately develops into, and again, it's probably going to take him some time. You may only get flashes, moments of that this year. That alone is a major reason for optimism. There is having Kamario Taylor leading the Mississippi State offense makes you believe Mississippi State offensively should be able to go out and make some noise. I know we talk about offensive line and the limitations there. I guess, frankly, at this point, you're kind of questioning Levy and putting it together with what you've seen a couple seasons. But Kamario under center as the full-time starter, it changes things. So that being the guy leading the way, that's the biggest reason to be optimistic about this. You have a dude at quarterback, and you have a guy that you're going to want to watch because he is the type of talent that could single-handedly lead Mississippi State to some wins that they may otherwise not have any business winning. I will say that now. Am I putting too much pressure on him right away? Possibly, but he is the type of guy who can potentially do that. Number two, building off of that, he's going to have weapons to work with because the offensive skill talent is very good. Anthony Evans is a very good wide receiver and a good go-to target to have, a reliable piece to have. He probably needs to get a little bit more sure-handed. I know down the stretch last season wasn't quite where you wanted to be. It was really the Egg Bowl. It was just kind of that one game. Because, Arkansas, I go back to the bowl game. He made some big plays in those games. And the Egg Bowl was kind of the one time he sort of slipped up a little bit. But you have a true go-to receiver in Anthony Evans that you can trust. He's going to get open, going to catch the football, make plays for you. A guy that you can get the football to in space and let him go to work. I think the other talent in the receiving room, Marquise Johnson, Frisco McGee, Aiden Williams, some of the younger guys like a Grayson Harris, or some of these freshmen that are coming in. There's a lot of depth and talent in that receiver room that you've got guys who can be some explosive playmakers. So I'm not worried about what you have at receiver. I look at running back, Fluff Bothwell, assuming he's back full strength and we get the Fluff you saw early last season, that's a dang good running back. And that's a running back who's the type of guy that can go create when the picture in front of him is not perfect. That's what helped out State's run game a lot early in the season, is Fluff was able to take advantage. Even when the blocking was not great, Fluff was able to go and get yards. So you have a really talented player at running back leading the way. I think Xavier Gaden's potential is still high. Colin Wilson, we'll see what he can develop into. I know the young guys, J.J. Hill, Cooper Crosby, there's a ton of valid excitement around what they've got. So there are weapons on this offense. Like Camario is not going to have a hard time finding good players and good athletes to get the football to. Obviously, so much hinges on offensive line. But you have a quarterback that's potentially special. You have a good group of skill talent in a system that is designed to maximize those things. I know we could have said a lot of that the previous couple of years as well, and it hasn't always panned out because of some of the limitations up front. But I feel like they're probably going to be pretty good offensively and going to have their moments where they're a lot of fun to watch. So that's another reason to be optimistic. And speaking of offensive line, if I'm going to go, the third reason to be optimistic, and I talked about this some when I did the offensive line breakdown, for all the concerns about lack of experience, lack of proven high-level performance on the field, playing a lot of guys that are younger and just haven't been out there, the talent ceiling is high for the offensive line. The young guys that Levy brought into the room are guys that project as SEC caliber players. Tyler Miller, Mario Nash, LJ Perdome, Isaiah Dent, Spencer Dowland coming off his redshirt freshman year, Jalen Matthews. These young guys can play at this level. Now, are all of them going to get to that point? Realistically, probably not, and that's not a Mississippi State thing. That's college football. Part of the reason you need to have somebody of those offensive linemen is because some of those guys just don't hit, because that is a tough position to project, and you have to take multiple years to develop and coach that group up. And while that is a little bit of a concern this year because those are younger guys, and look, for the older guys on the roster, Cannon Boone, DJ Chester, Miles McVay, Blake Steen, I think you at least can get solid play out of that group. If those guys can be solid for you, and then you get a couple of these young guys to click, I think the offensive line will be good enough. You don't need them to be dominant up front. You just need them to do better than they did last year. If we have numbers in the box to run the football, can you all hold up just long enough to let Camario or Fluff get ahead for positive yardage? When we want to take a shot downfield, can you give Camario just enough time in the pocket, even if he has to extend the play a little bit with his legs, to get the ball off downfield? If you can do those things, this offense is going to click and take off. And having offensive linemen whose talent ceiling is that of being a really good player at the SEC level opens the door for that to be a possibility. Again, they have to show it, which they haven't done yet because it's guys who just haven't gotten to play yet. But if they get to that point, you've got a group that's going to do its job and set you up successfully on the offensive side of the ball. So I'm not saying don't be concerned with offensive line, but if you're going to spin this thing positively and be optimistic, that's what I would look to. That, like, hey man, like, they got a lot of bodies in this room that look like SEC players, which has not necessarily been the case in recent years. Moving over to the other side of the ball, the fourth reason that I would be optimistic is just big picture for the defense. Zach Arnett's leading the defense. Now, I understand, as a fan base, there's mixed feelings on Arnett because of the way his head coaching tenure went, and that led to mixed feelings on bringing him back into the program. I am very much on record as being a guy who did not like, was not okay at all with his tenure as head coach. I certainly did not like how he handled things and the way he ran that program in 2023, the decisions that he made. And he put State in a worse spot than it needed to be. And if you're someone as a fan that is never going to be okay with him because of that, okay, I understand that. Objectively, the guy's a good defensive coordinator. Objectively, the guy understands how to call a defense within the SEC and maximize the talent that he's given on that side of the ball. I mean, go back to his first year, 2020. We were going into that 2020 season thinking, man, this defense, it's all new faces, and they don't look like SEC players. Like, what are we doing? To be fair, a few of those guys, we just hadn't seen it yet. They were going to be SEC high-level players. But we had super low expectations for the defense. Arnett made them a competent unit that at times was what kept State in games when, the air raid was still kind of getting off the ground. I think he's the type of guy that can really take advantage of some of the pieces you have on this defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to get into here just in a sec. I think it's going to help out your defensive line. We have questions about that group, right? But I think it's a group that's good enough that if they're deployed correctly, you can finally get some disruption up front, which is going to be so crucial for this team, given the lack of disruption up front that they've had. I think his style of defense, we look at some of the issues they've had defending the run, the confusion he's able to create is going to get some free tacklers to be able to go and make plays. So I think State's going to have that aggressive attacking defense that fans have so desperately wanted to see. And getting that back with a defensive room that I actually think has more talent than a lot of people realize. I think there's a good chance that this defense takes a really nice step forward, just with that alone. And the final big reason I'd be optimistic for Mississippi State football going into this year, going into the spring, building off of that, the back seven talent on defense is really, really good. I know up front we still have some questions, and that's the most important part. The reason we can't go all in on this Mississippi State team is that offensive defensive lines, you have question marks. And if you have question marks at those spots and they don't get resolved positively, you're probably going to be in for a rough go of things. But you look at the linebacker room, Zachary Tillman, Jalen Smith, Tyler Lockhart, Darian Gillette. That is super talented. Those are guys who are attacking players in the middle of the field, disruptors in the middle of the field, athletic players in the middle of the field. Those are the exact type of linebackers that Zach Arnett thrives with. And I think those guys are in for big, big seasons. You have a first-round pick at cornerback locking down one side of the field in Kelly Jones. And then opposite of him, if it's Quentin Taylor, if it's Caleb Singleton, Jamrock Grimsley, Jet Jefferson, Kyle Johnson, you've got talented options. Taylor has shown it and played well in the FBS already, and those other guys are four-star players. I guess Jefferson, JUCO player, but a guy that there was a lot of excitement about going into last season before he dealt with injuries. I think your cornerback room is in a really good spot. And safety, Isaac Smith, one of the best safeties in the SEC. Jordan Gilbert, Marcus Williams, Kendall Dolby have played a lot of football at a really high level and have shown the ability to be good players. And I've talked about it a lot. Experience, having veterans at safety is a big deal because those are the guys in the back end where the most important thing is understanding where do I go and just what plays am I looking to make. Those guys know how to make those plays. And then you bring in Braylon Womack, who really is a five-star player. I know we didn't end up finally ranked there, but a five-star talent at safety in Braylon Womack who has the ability to make an impact right away. There's a ton of talent on the back end of this defense that if they're just solid up front, this could be a really, really good unit for Mississippi State. I'm not saying they're going to be dominant defensively, but it could be more than good enough that if the offense gets back to what we're talking about, this could be a solid team.